Ladies and gentlemen, it is often said that culture eats strategy for breakfast. Essentially, that an empowering culture is a sure-shot way for organizations to succeed. In that context, over the next 20 minutes, I'm asking two questions. What exactly is Elon Musk doing at SpaceX? And why are most Indians unhappy at work? You may think it's unrelated, but trust me, by the end of it, we'll tell you why it's related. Let's start with Musk. He's one of the most influential and divisive figures in this world. Wall Street Journal has reported that the CEO of SpaceX had sex with an intern, 20 years his junior, an ex-employee, and asked another staffer to have his babies during her exit interview. The Wall Street Journal also claims that these are just three of the many women employees, both at Tesla and SpaceX, who were showered with extra attention and pursued romantically. Following this, 8 SpaceX engineers have now taken the tech billionaire to court, accusing him of creating a hostile work culture that demeaned women and the LGBT+ community. The petition reads, and I quote, "It was also common for engineers to apply crude and demeaning names to products in an attempt at humor at the cost of women and the LGBT+ community. For example, a camera used for the Falcon rocket was named Upskirt Camera." All the 8 engineers, just by the way, were fired when they highlighted Mr. Musk's problematic behavior in an open letter within the company. Now, Elon Musk is yet to respond to these specific charges, but his lawyers are dismissing these allegations as untruths. If these allegations are true, it tells you something about modern-day workplaces and the challenges they face. Speaking of which, I now am turning your attention to India. A simple question: are you happy at work? Clearly, these 8 engineers at SpaceX weren't. Maybe many more won't. Well, it's not always possible to be perfectly happy, but are you generally happy when you step into your workplace? Turns out, most Indians aren't. The State of the Global Workplace 2024 report that has been released by Gallup is quite an eye-opener, actually. Nearly 90% Indian employees say they are suffering or struggle at workplaces, 90%. And a mere 14% perceive themselves as thriving in life. This is in stark contrast against the global average of 34%. The report also highlights that 35% of India's workforce experienced anger almost daily, and over 40% are mostly sad while working. This despite having low stress levels as compared to other South Asian countries. India's emotional paradox has raised some intriguing questions. While employees in India may not feel overwhelmed by stress, they still face challenges in managing their emotional responses to workplace situations. The contributing factors can be many, like job dissatisfaction, interpersonal conflicts, or organizational culture. But the real question is, why is the Indian workforce this unhappy? And what is the way forward? A quick chat with my guest this evening. Sunil Alagh is a business consultant joining us on the broadcast. Rituparna Chakraborty is co-founder and director at Teamlease joining us as well. And Lloyd Matthias is a business strategist. He's with us on the broadcast. Mr. Alagh, are you a little taken aback by the numbers and the data we are putting out? Almost 90% people in India don't seem to be happy in their workplaces. How is that possible?
No, it's very possible for them to state it, but look, as far as I'm concerned, money comes first above all. When you're working, are you earning? And Ikigai, Japan has come out with, are you doing your job which you love? And at the same time, are you being rewarded? Many of the youngsters are not in jobs that they love. When they have a passion for the jobs, they pick up a job because they may not love it, but because the money is good. And therefore, they are saying they are unhappy. Ultimately, it's a balance in life which you must attain. That's what Ikigai is all about. Look, when you start working, and if you're not happy with your job, then you look for a hobby in the evenings when you go out and do it. But if you don't strike that balance and then don't leave your job because money is important, and at the same time look for something that you love, and at the same time do your job. Look, many of us take up a job because of money in India. 1 second, let me finish first. You have to understand that they are not happy in their jobs. But are they leaving? No, they are not. Why are they staying on in the jobs? That's the question to ask. They are not stressed. 70% is not stressed at their jobs. 30% is only stressed. And then again, 60% or 70% say there's a lot of engagement. So there are contradictory in your survey itself. You haven't highlighted, you only highlighted 85% is not happy. But look, ultimately at the end of the day, there's a balance which you look for. Ultimately, you join a job, and if you're not happy, then you move around. And the number of people who change jobs today are huge, huge numbers compared to when I was getting a job. When you got into a company, whether you were happy or not happy, you stayed in it. That was the culture. And now, of course, number of people that change, number of jobs, that's okay. But look, if you're not happy, then strike a balance
But
in
Mr.
your life.
Alagh,
That's what I say.
Mr. Alagh, a simple question here. A simple question here. You're saying if you're not in a job that you love, you'll be unhappy irrespective of what money is paid to you. But the fact is, even if you are in a job that you love, but the money is not good enough, you'll still be unhappy.
No,
So it's
you
a tough
won't be
choice.
unhappy. No. There's a balance which you will strike, because if you are recognized in your one thing, if you joined in a company which you love that job, okay, and the money that you have is a lot less than what you'd like, you strike a balance by working harder, and you strike something. But if you pick up a job that you don't like, then you are in a stressful situation. Now look, 70% of the people have said they are not stressed. Therefore, losing a temper or losing angry, do they get angry throughout? And do they? I don't know the survey well enough for you to answer those questions, but are they just angry at an issue, or are they angry with the people? We don't know as yet. Look, I mean, Indians have a way of saying they're unhappy all the time, because we in India tend to say that. In Japan and elsewhere, ikigai is striking a balance. Look for another job. Look for a job, but don't leave your job, because money is important when you strike it. What is the age group of people? Are they in their 50s? Are they in their 20s? Nobody knows. I mean, the survey report that I have read, and unless you can clarify further, are they in their early 20s? Of course, they're looking for jobs which when they strike balances, then by the time they're 35, 40, they will learn. But if they are 50 already and they are unhappy, then they have to look for things outside their jobs. That's it. Otherwise, there's no stress. 70% don't find stress. How come? How come 70% is not stress?
Yeah, to me that is also surprising actually. But here's the
That's
thing.
very
Here's the
surprising.
thing, and can I just get in Rituparna here?
There's a huge employee generation. There's a huge employee contact.
Yes. Yes, Shreya.
Let me quickly, Gal, let me just underline another statistic here. Again, this is the Gallup report. 35% of India's workforce experienced anger almost daily, and over 40% were mostly sad while working. As I said, you're never perfectly happy, but to be downright sad when you're working 40%, that is nearly half, and 35% experiencing anger almost daily. Is that something that seems rational to you?
I think none of it is acceptable and none of it sounds good to me. However, I think for a minute, let's just park aside any of this occurring on account of less pay, because then the whole conversation will become very murky, Shreya. So for a minute, let's assume that pay is not the concern, and I can assure you that India is becoming so competitive, and the fact that India is also a country which has maximum number of people, but also a maximum number of unemployable people. So organization will do anything to kind of retain and pay handsomely the people who are engaged in work. What has happened is India over the last 2 decades, so maybe a little more than that, have been transforming into an extremely competitive, aggressive workplace. I mean, every organization is competing tooth and nail, for an extra share of market, a percentage here and a 5% here. So first and foremost, the pressure of excellence and growth at each point within organization is way different than what it used to be earlier. That's one point. The second is employees' own aspiration and ambition has also risen. Every day you want more for yourself, you want more salary, you're seeing peers, friends, and a lot of things which earlier were not widely visible. Now, thanks to social media and all, okay, if that person has achieved this, why am I not achieving it? So I think there is also an implicit pressure which we are constantly applying on ourselves. And employees feel that they're just not doing enough or receiving enough or getting enough. And honestly, it's a vicious cycle, Shreya. I see this happening in workplaces where employees actually, honestly, do not have the courage to confront and accept why they're really unhappy. The fact that they are giving, let's say, 12 hours, 13 hours at work, they're giving it while they're doing it knowingly or maybe sometimes more because they have this extremely fancy job where they're getting well paid, but somewhere they are actually compromising and letting go of some aspect which could have made them happier. So I think this constant pursuit for something bigger, better is, in my mind, actually a big problem. And actually, very few people have the courage to let go of a handsome 50 lakh plus salary or a 20 lakh, even 25, 30 lakh plus salary, just to say, okay, listen, this is enough for me. I think that ability to say what's enough at what point is something which is diminishing. And then you do not know how to express yourself because you feel I still need my job. But the fact that I'm unhappy, honestly, we just don't know what to do about it. So I think at some point we have to have the courage and boldness to confront what's making us unhappy.
Lord Matthias, we are just, the Gallup study is only talking about workplaces, right, in India. But do workplaces bear out what is happening outside the workplace as well? Because if you look at the World Happiness Report, India is not a terribly happy country in any case. It ranked 126th out of 143 nations in the World Happiness Report. I mean, so you're unhappy outside work and you're unhappy at work.
Hey, thank you, Shreya. I think this is an important debate. I was quite startled to see the numbers about just 14% people being, employee satisfaction. But when I dived deeper into the report, I think there's a bit of a methodology issue. They rated all employees were asked to rate their happiness in the office in a 10-point scale, right? So anyone who rated 1 to 3 was considered to be suffering. Anyone who's rated 4 to 6 was considered to be struggling. And only 7 upwards were thriving, right? So it was a slightly skewed scale. And therefore, we have this kind of abysmal 14% that seem to be thriving, and everyone else seems to be either struggling or suffering, which I think was a little bit of a methodology issue. Having said which, I think there are two aspects that we have to recognize, both in the context of the World Happiness Report as well as the employee satisfaction, this Gallup poll. I think one is fundamentally work is an antithesis to humans, right? We don't go and wake up in the morning and are dying to get to work, right? As much as people may claim this on their LinkedIn profiles, I think it's not what humans are fundamentally wanting to do in life, right? So work is a way to kind of make money, live a good life, but it's always a means to something. It's not an end to itself for most humans. I think that's the reality. The second point, and I think Rituparna touched upon some of them, is that today there is a constant striving. Thanks to social media, thanks to pressures, people are never very happy with their salaries. You look up social media, everyone seems to be having a ball, seems to be in holiday, doing better than you, getting better grades, is smarter, getting promoted. So I think there's a sense of unhappiness that social media instills, which is one aspect, which is true. The other aspect is work stress is now real. Companies expect people to kind of get engaged 24/7. I mean, you might have a 9 to 5 job, but it's not unlikely that you're on your mail till 9 in the night or waking up early or doing a conference call on the weekend. I think some of these are real. And in the larger context of unhappiness, I think things like office commutes, poor infrastructure, I think all this adds to the woes of not just employees, but people at large. And therefore, to the fact that people are not so happy with life. I think commutes, corruption in society, concerns, uncertainty, the COVID pandemic has been a big overhang. I think a lot of these add to kind of human misery. So I think it is looked in that context. I think that's real. But overall, I think I'd look at the Gallup report per se with some degree of skepticism.
Rituparna, would you agree with that? Because Mr. Alagh, seems to find it problematic. Mr. Matthias is finding it problematic as well. Is there anything that you're taking away from the Gallup report, which probably points to a trend that you've seen anecdotally as well?
I think some of the points that have been mentioned by Mr. Alagh and Lloyd in terms of methodology, of course, is something that I agree with. So it's essentially the way it's been bucketed can be challenged in many ways. But the fact that there is growing dissatisfaction in terms of where I am, how I am, whether it's not something which is honestly surprising to me, because what the expectations from employees at workplaces are also that if you are X productive yesterday, today you have to be X plus. So that's the basic expectation. From an organization perspective, it probably is justified because people are expecting more productivity from their employees. However, maintaining that same level of motivation, that same level of energy, it is difficult sometimes. And the fact is that in India, or the lifestyle or the ecosystems in India are not fluid. It's not easy to navigate through it. I mean, you're sitting at workplaces and you're worrying about, let's say, whether your child ecosystem is being looked after. You're worried about whether you're going to get home on time if it's raining today. I think there are a lot of stuff that employees in India are dealing with, besides the fact that there is a growing expectation that they need to perform more, they have to perform better, they need to be more productive. So the fact that, but this is how the world will. I mean, this is what we are signing up for. And hence, it's completely, I personally feel that if it's not something which is giving you happiness, and when I say happiness, I mean true inner happiness, and not because I'm not able to show off with a new car to my neighbor. But if it's something which has become a pain inside and you're not able to deal with it, we should not belabor it. The courage to confront it and act on it is absolutely essential, because you're actually foregoing your long-term peace of mind and sustainability. So, but yes, that courage is difficult. And that's why the word sad and angry. You're angry that you're not able to take that decision. And you're sad that you have to accept the reality what it is. It is something which, if not everyone, but a large part of Indian employees are struggling with.
Sunil Alagh, I have about 40 seconds on the show and I'll give you the last word. Do employers care? Do organizations care really whether your employees are happy or not? The fact is, a part of the unhappiness, and I think all of you have said this, comes also from the fact that your workday just doesn't seem to end. It could start at 9 o'clock and you could still be answering mails or WhatsApp messages till 11:30.
No, look, you have to strike a balance between that and your life, because everybody is not working 24/7, regardless of what they've employed. And I don't know who they've gone and interviewed, what age groups they've interviewed, and the methodology is perhaps as vague as you can find. But the way you're putting it out, instead of saying 70% are not stressed, you're putting down 30% are stressed. And the information that you want to twist around, because everybody is not in jobs which they are happy with. Never before has that happened, nor is it going to happen. But ultimately, what do you do? What do you strike? Because money is important. Every company is important. The cultures that they do is important. And they expect the top flyers to do work harder than the rest. You need soldiers, you need infantry, you need a few generals. It's not that you need everybody to work as hard as they are working, because you need them to go out. And therefore, ultimately, the employers work around areas which they are, and they know that everybody is not happy. If they get a better job, they will leave. And sometimes it's good that they leave, because you get fresh blood into your system. And that's what people are looking at today, is to have a mix of fresh blood and existing blood. During my time, you joined a company and you stayed where you are. But now people are leaving, and therefore you have to strike your own personal balance. You have to understand where you stand in an organization and what you do. Ultimately, it's you're comparing yourself, as Rituparna said, that you're comparing yourself with others, but that's okay. But there has to end. You have to strike Ikigai, Japanese system, find out another passion for yourself. In the evening, maybe when you get home.
We'll leave it there for the moment. Thank you very much. Okay, okay. By the time most people get home, they are dead. They just want to eat and go to sleep, Mr. Alagh. What is this new passion you're talking about? We'll leave it there. I know it's good advice. I'm not so sure it's practical, given that there are hour-long commutes that are involved in most big cities. But anyhow, we'll leave it there. Thank you very much, Mr. Alagh, for joining us. Rituparna Chakraborty, always good to have you on the show. Lloyd Matthias, thank you for your time as well.